In part 4 of my Fundamentals of Oil Painting course, I explained the fundamentals of linear perspective in detail. Now, I'd like to show you painting where, seeking a certain aesthetic expression, I deviate slightly from those fundamentals. This is a painting I made of a street in the Sabarona neighborhood in Caguas, Puerto Rico, where I spent my childhood until I was 15. Here you can see this line and this other line of the street that are supposed to point toward the horizon. In other words, these lines are supposed to be parallel, and as they move away, we see them meeting at the vanishing point here, more or less. And if these buildings were aligned parallel to the street, then they would also point toward the same vanishing point. You can see there is some deviation. I must say that I did this painting quite quickly, and my attention was more on aesthetics than on the accuracy of the fundamentals of linear perspective. I hadn't analyzed these aspects before, but here and now I am going to show how much inaccuracy exists that I didn't notice at the time I was painting. I do this to demonstrate that we can make mistakes in linear perspective and still achieve a certain aesthetics expression. Let's look at the red lines that represent the direction of the buildings and the street. Almost none of the lines coincide with the same vanishing point that lies on the blue horizon line. This one doesn't coincide. This one doesn't coincide. And this one doesn't coincide either. The horizon would be more or less at the height of the blue line. The lines on either side of the street would end more or less at the same vanishing point on the horizon. But by extending the other lines, you can see that most of them don't coincide. However, we must consider that some of these structures don't appear to be parallel to the street. Perhaps this is why the lines don't coincide at the same vanishing point on the horizon. In any case, I want to justify myself by saying that I paid more attention to aesthetics rather than linear perspective. For some artists, the fundamentals and accuracy of linear perspective are very important, while for others not so much. But it's always important to know that these fundamentals exist to achieve the illusion of depth in our paintings. When we understand the fundamentals of linear perspective, we can use them, especially in urban landscapes. I invite you to study the fundamentals of linear perspective in more depth in part 4 of my course, Fundamentals of Oil Painting, and in some videos published on YouTube completely free. I hope this brief analysis of linear perspective has been helpful.